Okay, the committee will now be broadcast and recorded online, and I'll start by taking apologies. Kate, Emma joining us? Yeah, perfect, no problem at all. Declarations of interest?
Chair,
Yeah.
where there's reference to minerals, I need to declare I visited Dalradian Mine.
No problem at all.
And Chair, can I declare on the student loan piece, please?
Yes.
Student fees.
As well from
Student loan.
Very good. And clear? Okay. Morning, Emma, how are you? Chairperson's business then, item 3.1, members, just before today's session I had a meeting on behalf of the committee with SSE, Clean Energy Investment, and the clerk will provide a summary note of that meeting. Are members content to note that? Yeah. Thank you. Item 3.2, Freedom of Information request during the summer. Members will recall that authority was delegated to the Chair and Deputy Chair in respect of Freedom of Information request received by the committee during the summer recess. Such request was made as it included a 1,467 page of packs. The clerk responded to the FOI within the statutory timescales and advised the Chair. Committee's content to note. Yeah. Thank you. Item 3.3 then, Insolvency Bill. The Assembly has agreed to extend the committee stage of the Insolvency Amendment Bill until the 12th of December 25. The Department has provided the Delegated Powers Memorandum, the hearing schedule and the equality screening document. These have all been made available to members along with the bill table via members' postbox. Is the committee content for the clerk to forward the Delegated Powers Memorandum to the ESR for her consideration? Content, thank you.
There's rather a wee bit of a technical issue with the post boxes. You will get that shortly.
Yep.
Those documents are huge. They're
Yes.
the biggest hearing schedules and the longest delegated powers memorandum I've ever seen. So anyway, I'll save that for the committee stage. So.
Perfect. Item 4 then, draft minutes are at page 6, which are a copy of our discussions and deliberations on the 2nd of July. Members content that I sign those as a true and accurate reflection? Thank you. And then item 5, any matter members wish to raise at this stage is not covered later in the agenda. No. Okay, item 6 then is the public interest notice disclosure. Refer members to the clerk's cover note at page 21 and advise members that the department has laid a statutory rule. The public interest disclosure prescribed persons amendment number 2 order Northern Ireland 2025. The rule is subject to negative resolution procedure. The rule will come into operation on the 4th of October 2025. The public interest disclosure Northern Ireland order 1998 gives protection to whistleblowers who raise concerns by making a protected disclosure about dangerous or illegal activity that they are aware of in the workplace. The rule updates the schedule of the order to reflect the dissolution of the Westminster Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy and the transfer of some of its responsibilities to the Westminster Department for Business and Trade. The rule also updates the schedule to reflect changes in the role of the Westminster Department for Transport in respect of merchant shipping law, maritime safety and money laundering aircraft and shipping sanctions. Additionally, the rule updates the schedule to reflect changes to the role of the Treasury in respect of money laundering and related sanctions. Do members have any questions at this stage on that? If not, could I put the following motion to the committee that the Committee for the Economy has considered the statutory rule SR 140-25, the public interest disclosure prescribed persons amendment number 2 order Northern Ireland 2025 and subject to the report of the ESR has no objection to the rule. Are members content?
Yep.
Great. Okay. We then move on to item number 7, members, in SL1 and refer you to the clerk's covering note at page 32. The Department intends to lay a statutory rule entitled the Student Fees Amount Amendment Regulation Northern Ireland 2025. The rule is subject to negative resolution procedure and will likely come into operation on the 1st of September 2026. The rule contains the annual amendments to the Student Fees Amounts Regulation Northern Ireland 2025. Since the 2010-11 academic year, tuition fees levels for eligible students studying at local higher institutions have increased in line with inflation on an annual basis. The proposed rule applies an increase of 2.7% and is applied to the basic and higher fee amounts for academic year 26-27. The basic and higher fee amounts represent the maximum tuition fees that institutions can charge students for qualifying courses. The higher amount is chargeable in instances where the institution has an approved plan in place for the course, which provides a commitment to promote equality of opportunity for those who are underrepresented in higher education. The basic amount is the maximum chargeable where there is no such plan in place. The lower basic fee will increase from 1910 in academic year 25-26 to 1960 in academic year 26-27, and the higher fee will increase from 4855 in this current academic year to 4985 in academic academic year 26-27. For certain courses, for example, sandwich courses, the fees are different. The relevant basic lower amount will increase from £930 in this academic year in the academic year 26-27, and the fee increase from £2,410 in the academic year 25-26 to £2,475 in academic year 26-27. Members have any questions on this one? No? Okay. Are the committee content that the department lays the proposed rule? Agreed? Okay. Correspondence, Peter.
So members, this is our summer correspondence. There's an awful lot of it, and I've had a look at a wee bit of a detail, and if members are content, I'll just drive you through all 59 items. So the first one is at page 55 of your packs. These next couple are all about higher education. Members were asked to consider a ministerial correspondence advising that a financial needs assessment of the Northern Ireland universities for 2025 to 2030 is to be undertaken as part of the spending review. The scope of the review of HE funding is still to be determined. The terms of reference still to be determined. That's discussed in a later bit of correspondence. So are members content to note that for now? I've asked the department when they come to brief us about the spending review in October that they talk about this as well. So if members are content to note, Chair.
Agreed. Okay, thank you.
Fab. Item 3 at page 56. Members are asked to consider departmental correspondence which advises that a public consultation will be launched on widening participation into higher education. So they've told us no more than that. So are members content to note that for now?
Great.
Great. Item 4, page 57. Members are asked to consider departmental correspondence which advises that a provisional grant allocation letter setting out a flat cash allocation for 2025-26 will be issued to the universities during the autumn. So if you remember, before the summer there was quite a lot of concern about how the universities would be funded, what they would actually get. So it's a flat cash allocation. The department advises that Republic of Ireland students will not be removed from the Masson cap, and that discussion with the government of the Republic of Ireland continues. The review of HE funding may include a review of financial needs, the teaching funding model and support for students. It will take 18 months to complete. In respect of the territorial extent of the international student visa levy, the department could provide no details. So this was about international students. So you will have noticed in the press there's an extremely high level of students getting their first choice university. Why? Well, one of the reasons is the universities have no money. Why do they have no money? Because there are now restrictions on international students. If we just dealt with student fees, £4,000 or £5,000 for a UK student, £20,000 typically for an international student, so that is a lot of money to them. So that consequently they are struggling with funding. There is the UK government are apparently thinking about an international student visa levy, which would serve as a further discouragement. But the department can provide us with no details on that one. So if members are therefore just content to note that for now, and we'll hear more about higher education, hopefully funding needs, when we hear about the spending review. If members are content.
Happy to do that, Peter. I just think it's important that we do note that institutions are keen to see this review of higher education take place as soon as possible. There has been no terms of reference for that review to be published at this stage, nor a panel appointed to take that forward. So, in my view, 18 months is unlikely to be met, however. I'm often proved wrong, so we can see again.
So there's a clear indication now from the department that nothing is going to actually happen within this mandate. And I suppose when we all came back in here, that was kind of like one of the priorities of higher education review, and yet we're going to see this mandate out with nothing done.
So I can record members' concerns in that regard.
It's really concerning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, members. Okay, moving on to item 5 at page 61. Members are asked to consider a response from Queen's on its applications and enrolments from the Republic of Ireland. Queen's points out that delays in issuing leaving certificate results in the Republic of Ireland, this is something the committee's heard about before, this can lead to delays in the NI University student enrolment process, so that students, prospective students, might accept an offer or have a conditional offer from Queen's, but then they're waiting for the leaving cert results to come out, and as a consequence it leads to late withdrawals by NI domiciled students as they transfer their application to GB universities rather than waiting for the NI enrolment system to To conclude, it also appears that around 80% of ROI enrolments in Northern Ireland universities are at Ulster University, and that these have apparently doubled in the last 5 years. You can also see I've included there the previous related response from Ulster University. Recent increases are explained by housing shortages in the Republic of Ireland, post-Brexit fee changes in Scotland. It is also reported that around half as many Northern Ireland students enrol in Republic of Ireland as ROI students enrol in Northern Ireland. So there we go. So are members content to note all of that?
I'm content to note. I would just be keen, Peter, if we could get an update from the department on what discussions they're actually having with our counterparts in the Republic of Ireland in relation to removing Republic of Ireland students from the Northern Ireland Mazen cap. Not to make a party political point, but ultimately a student that comes from the Republic of Ireland is taking up a place that's funded by the Northern Ireland Executive by a student who lives in Northern Ireland. So I'd just be keen to try and get detail about the discussions that the Minister's currently having with their counterparts into how we get a new arrangement that can ensure students continue to come from the Republic of Ireland, but also it doesn't negatively impact students living here in Northern Ireland.
Agreed, Chairperson? David?
It's just further to that then, to make sure that student mobility is really important from north to south as well, to make sure that students from the north can still attend and go in the south in easy access. A lot of this comes down to the timings, a lot of it comes down to I think, but just that we continue to work on that.
100%.
That's agreed then.
Yeah.
Agreed, members. Okay, item 6. Excuse me, this is just from UCAS, where they've indicated the HE application data for 2025. So there's been a 1.5% increase in the number of applicants from Northern Ireland and a 2% increase in providers in Northern Ireland. Members may, as I've said, noted the increase in undergraduate first choice enrolment this summer, and that's likely as universities sort of struggle with their financial situation. So if members content to note that info. Great. Thank you. Item 7 is at page 75. Members are asked to consider a departmental notice of a consultation on the Northern Ireland postgraduate tuition fee loan. The consultation explores options of maintaining or increasing the level of postgraduate tuition fee loan from £6,500 as they are now to up to £10,000. The average cost of a postgraduate course is £7,900 for a Northern Ireland student, rising to, it is estimated, £9,000 by 2030. So is the committee content to seek a briefing from the department on the feedback to the consultation? That's agreed.
Yeah, thank you.
Number 8. Okay, so this next few correspondence are all about skills and such like. Members are asked to consider departmental correspondence in respect of the notification of the launch of the Apprenticeship Action Plan. This was on the 11th of August. The actions include, under the title Improve, to procure a review of apprenticeships, review the membership of the sectoral partnerships, and undertake research. Under Grow, to establish a public sector steering group and develop 10 new apprenticeship pathways, pilot apprenticeship navigators, and shared apprenticeships in construction. And under the Include title, the idea is to pilot SEN apprenticeships, apprenticeships connections pilot, and to pilot guaranteed interviews for the economically inactive. So, Chair, is the committee content to seek an oral briefing from the department on the Apprenticeship Action Plan?
Yep.
Fab. Great. Okay, thanks. Number 9. Sorry. Number 9 then, at page 141, members were asked to note correspondence from the Department of Finance in respect of the memorandum of response from DE and DFE on the PAC report into developing the skills for Northern Ireland's future. So my understanding is that the PAC will consider this on the 25th of September, so that will be sort of that done. And Patrick?
To declare an interest as a member of the PAC.
I'm the same.
So members just considered to note
Forward
pending.
to reading your report.
So if members are content just to note that pending PAC's conclusion of their work on that. That's agreed, Chair?
Great, Chair.
Okay, so number 10. Members are asked to note departmental correspondence in respect of a research bulletin on qualifications comparing Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. The research finds lower levels of qualifications to degree and above in Northern Ireland and higher levels of economic inactivity in this jurisdiction, with a greater likelihood that the economically inactive in Northern Ireland will be on long-term sickness and will lack higher qualifications. So again, committee content to note that research. Great, okay. Number 11 is the Labour Relations Agency Annual Report and Accounts. This is page 168, and also their corporate plan and business plan. So as members know, the Labour Relations Agency employs about 70 staff, spends about $5 million a year. They provide a mediation service and advice and policy support in respect of employment matters. Most of their business plan outcomes have been achieved, but there are some things to come. So one of those is the collective bargaining guidance, which will be taken forward with the new employment bill. There'll be flexible working codes of practice, again, to be taken forward with the new employment bill. MOUs to be developed with the Equality Commission and the Employment Tribunals, and the Good Employment Charter, which is still in development again, so all be kind of linked to that legislation. And then they also refer to some new legislation to clarify the role of the LRA board and its staff, but this seems to be about an express part of delegation, so it's basically to allow the staff to procure things. I think that's what that means. So is the committee content to note, Chairperson?
Great.
Number 12, this is from Kate Nichol, MLA, including a copy of the APG report on the need for social care skills. Members content to note, Chair? Now we move on to energy. So this is at page 441. Members are asked to consider a ministerial correspondence that a paper on the closure of the RHI scheme had been submitted to the executive. It is understood that the paper was not considered at the most recent executive meeting. Chair, is the committee content to seek a briefing from the department following agreement of the way forward by the executive?
Jonathan.
Thank you, Chair. And yes, absolutely, a briefing would be helpful, but just with reference to the way in which it was handled, in which officials came to the committee last time, were not able to give us any facts, figures, to really have an informed position. I don't want a repeat of that, and I think that should be stressed, that if they're coming, we need the whole facts put before us, so that we can deal with this matter effectively.
So we'll note that. But I suspect that the idea would be that we wait till it gets through the executive, and
But whenever we do,
and then we'll
no point having it if it's not going to be
if that's agreed, then members.
Great.
Number 14, page 324, members are asked to note departmental correspondence. Right, this is in response to a question from Mr Honeyford. You'd asked about how they're going to develop renewables, grid capacity and long-term storage, and their answer is the energy strategy. The role of Great British Energy also still seems to be not entirely clear at this point. So
energy strategy is just, it's the next stage of that. It's not the answer. We already knew the energy strategy. We've had it for a couple of years. It's the actual development of a plan that they don't have. That's the bit we're asking for. Strategy just gives you principles of what they want to achieve.
Yep.
You know, doesn't give you an actual how that works, the delivery to that.
So I can record that if you're content.
Yeah, so we need to see an interconnection policy, grid connection policy, like all those things.
All of those.
Yeah.
So it's the strategy is the overall strategy.
Yeah.
No, agree. Like, I'm not dismissing that, but it's the detail of that and how that looks on the ground. So you've got areas of natural beauty or whatever that you can zone as protected or not protected, or where you want wind or where you want your grid to go. All of that mapping out of what that looks like, the north-south interconnector, part of all of it, battery storage, what that looks. We haven't got any of that detail. What we've got is a overall strategy that we've always had, but we don't have the delivery that what that looks like on the ground to give business the pathway of where they live, but also protection for communities and what, so everybody understands what is happening where.
So right to the department in those
Yep.
terms.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Members agreed?
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
No problem.
Got it. Okay, number 15 then at page 328. Members are asked to note a response from the Department of Infrastructure in respect of, well, a couple of things: the consultation on the review of regional strategic planning policy and renewables, etc. in 2023. The consultation did not include planning timelines, so it didn't deal with that particular issue. Consultation paper, according to that response, has not yet been considered by the executive. DFI also refers to a call for evidence on the strategic planning policy statement in relation to climate change in 2024. Additionally, DFI refers to a 2022 consultation on the quality of planning applications. The response doesn't give it a lot of clarity on the likely way forward or the timeline. Now, this may be clearer when the 2023 consultation paper clears the executive. So again, it links back to that sort of planning issues and renewables. So members content to note?
Yeah, we'll maybe share this with our colleagues in the Committee for Infrastructure so they can try and move that along, given the consultation was completed over 2 years ago.
Very good. Agreed, Chairperson. So number 16 of page 356, members are asked to note a copy of correspondence from the Department of Finance in respect of the Hydrogen Hubs project involving QUB, UU and the Mid and East Antrim Borough Council at the ECOS Centre in Ballymena. This is to develop hydrogen technology test beds, including gas network blending and hydrogen fuel cells for HGVs, and is at outline business case stage. So the cost is 19.5 million, with 3/4 coming from the complementary fund. So is committee content to note?
Yeah.
That's great.
No, I think that's a really, really important point, because there's some really interesting things going on in this sector, but it is really falling behind in comparison with others across the UK. Could we maybe ask the department, and Invest, and I've been engaging with them over the summer on this, a bit more detail on what is the total funding pool for hydrogen-related projects in Northern Ireland, and how are they being divided out? Is it is there a geographical spread, whatever? I'd like to see a wee bit more detail on it.
Great, Chairperson.
Done? Yep. Thank you, Jonathan.
Okay, thank you. Number 17, members are asked to, at page 359, are asked to consider Foyle Port's response in respect of offshore renewable energy development. So as I think the committee learned on the day, it appears that Foyle Port seeks to act as a development and support hub and landing point for nearby prospective renewable energy projects, which may be in the Republic of Ireland's waters. Is the committee content to forward this to the Committee for Infrastructure for their
Yeah.
information?
Content?
Declaration
Declaration
of
of
interest.
the Commissioner on the board.
Very good, we're happy with that. Thanks, members. Number 18, page 363. Members are asked to consider a ministerial written statement on electricity guaranteed standards of service, including when providers may apply for an exemption in the case of severe weather events. So if you remember Storm Eowyn, utility regulator is to launch a consultation at Halloween with revised draft regulations likely available by March 2026. NAE Networks has commenced a strategic review of network resilience and its response to severe weather events, and this is including an enhanced tree cutting programme which is to be undertaken.
For delighted. I'm absolutely elated by that news.
So is the committee content to seek an oral briefing on the consultation feedback when they have it?
Great.
Great.
You see on the point, and the tree cutting is very important to us, particularly in a rural perspective, but how's, I know we may not know it here, but how are they going to map that out? What's the engagement with? Because there is people that know exactly where the problematic trees are in particular, and sometimes I think whenever NIE go out to do these sort of things that they sometimes miss the most obvious. I'm just wondering what consultation there will be with stakeholders to ensure that it's an effective use of time to make sure that if we do face storms like we did previously, that there's minimised impact.
Do you want to write the NIE
Ask
in
their
their
details
terms?
of
Yeah.
consultation.
That's agreed, man.
Okay.
I think further to that, maybe a suggestion could be that if they wanted to liaise with us, because in our own areas, we
You know where the
probably
trees
know
are.
the landowners that are
Yeah,
affected, so
Perfect.
Okay, will do. That's
if we can
agreed.
feed into that, yeah.
Yeah.
Chair, we could ask what the terms of reference are for that research into where the trees are, because you can't predict weather patterns, and there's a lot of destruction in forests in the Fermanagh and South Tyrone area. Just how they know where to go, if we
Yes.
just find that out, what their criteria are. Thank you.
That's agreed, members?
Yeah.
Yep.
Very good, sorry. Okay, then number 19 at page 367. Members are asked to note the utility regulators 2024-25 annual report and accounts. So as members are aware, staff employed at the utility regulator increased from 108 to 141. They spent about 19 million, increasing from 14 million in the previous year. Revenue from regulation is around 16 million, so that's up from about 11 in the previous year. Most business plan targets were achieved with the exception of the development of a policy framework for biomethane gas injection, the net zero gas price regulation review, the electricity interconnection review, review of cost and performance reporting for network companies, and the scoping out of the regulatory framework for heat networks with the department. So committee content to note, because we'll hear more about heat later. Thank you. 20 then. Members are asked to consider a departmental research bulletin on decarbonisation and the circular economy, comparing territorial per capita CO2 emissions for Northern Ireland, which are generally falling, with a broader consumption-based measure, the carbon footprint, which includes things like imports, and which is sort of levelling off. The research also refers to difficulties in measuring the carbon and materials footprint for the Northern Ireland economy, which would be key measures for the circular economy. So the circular economy is something I asked the department about quite a few times. So it's committee content just to seek a departmental update on the circular economy strategy.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Number 21, so this next set is all about the economy and European Union stuff. Members are asked to consider at page 559 departmental research bulletins in respect of business challenges and opportunities in Northern Ireland. Challenges include falling demand, competition from other UK businesses, as well as cost of living pressures, of course. The research reports on hiring numbers, use of AI and hybrid working, and on productivity in Northern Ireland, which shows growth in productivity being driven by within sector improvements. The research indicates that the international facing segment of the Northern Ireland economy has generally not made a material contribution to within sector productivity since to growth in that since 1998. So is one of the other things that's in that research bulletin, you can see it at page 571, is that the Department of Finance is undertaken to publish statistics showing the extent of public sector contracting to SMEs, micro businesses and social enterprises, and the location of those businesses. So is committee content to write to DOF, just seek an update on that? Great, that's a great chair.
Yep.
Okay, is that all right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, so item 22, page 594, members are asked to consider response from the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland to committee queries in respect of car registration issues. If you remember, this is like the last thing we did before summer recess. The UKG, it appears, is to legislate to align the emission and registration requirements for the whole of the UK with the EU. So the idea being, and something's being brought forward for January. So it sounds like that problem might have gone away, but perhaps the committee would like to forward that to the National Franchise Dealers Association and just see that it is.
So a couple of things on this, Peter. So firstly, I think it's important that I cautiously welcome this, and I think it's an example of when the committee works together that, you know, a resolution can be found to this. But I'd be keen firstly to try and get some further detail from the Secretary of State in relation to the proposed timeline for this legislation. So he said it's subject to a consultation, so when that consultation would be launched. I'd also be keen to try and get the thoughts of the FD on this as well. Do they believe that it does deal with the issues that they face, if that's possible? But I know other colleagues wanted to speak.
Well, that's covered my points, just ensuring that the franchise dealers believe that this will do as it says in terms of rectifying those issues.
Have members content?
Okay. Chairperson. 23 at page 599, members are asked to know a response from the Federation of Small Businesses in respect of the sectoral impact of the Windsor Framework on small businesses. FSB indicates that those no longer trading with NI appear to be manufacturing or wholesale retail businesses, but can't provide the figures on the loss of relevant turnover. FSB reiterates its survey findings of dissatisfaction amongst SMEs with quality, consistency and availability of government supports, as well as the need for timely promotion of new rules and regulations emanating from the EU, and also calls for an Office for Regulatory Divergence to be established. Is committee content to note, Chairperson?
Yep.
Okay, then also at item 24 is at page 604. So this is a note from the Office for the Internal Market about that FSB report. They're arguing that it was weighted towards businesses who were experiencing difficulties. The Office for the Internal Market contends that around 10% of businesses have experienced regulatory problems in respect of inter-UK trading, and that this is a stable number. OIM indicates that there is a shortage of reliable data-driven insight into the impact of the Windsor Framework. Again, is the committee content to note?
I think the FSB acknowledged that at the end of their own report, so
Okay, moving on then. So item 25 at page 613, members are asked to consider a response from the UK Government in respect of the Office for the Internal Market review of the United Kingdom Internal Market Act. Okay, so the UK Internal Market Act measures market access for all parts of the UK to the UK internal market, whereas the Windsor Framework provides for Northern Ireland's access to the EU single market, as members know. The following UK Government recommendations are made. The Office for the Internal Market to have an enhanced role in respect of common frameworks. No further change to the role of the Office for the Internal Market in respect of the Windsor Framework over and above reporting internal UK market trading levels and investigating regulatory changes for real-world impacts. And a wider range of exclusions from the market access principles to be considered for common frameworks, including those with minimal economic impact. So this would allow jurisdictions to limit access for goods from other jurisdictions. For example, in the case of like single-use plastics, so it allowed the Scottish Government to not allow for imports of single-use plastics from the rest of the UK. So is the committee content to write to the Office for the Internal Market and ask it to investigate the impact of Windsor Framework regulatory change and the real-world impact for SMEs trading in Northern Ireland?
I think that'd be useful because we often argue in this committee about data and facts, and we don't have it. So this will hopefully provide the facts, so we can all be arguing from the same numbers. Members content with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they've themselves argued that there's not enough
Yeah.
data, it's not reliable.
Yeah.
So.
Perfect.
So item 26, we're about halfway, members, is at page 663. Members are asked to note a response from the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland in respect of the FSB report on the Windsor Framework. Secretary of State advises that over 10,000 businesses are already registered for the UK Internal Market Scheme and the Trader Support Service. This particular service has been extended to the end of 2025, and a procurement process, as members are aware, for the provision of this service appears to be underway. The Secretary of State also refers to a review of the Windsor Framework, which was published last week. Is the committee content to invite the author of that report to give oral evidence to the committee, do you think?
Yeah, I think through the chair, just, whilst the Secretary of State indicates there's 10,000 businesses already registered to the UK Internal Market Scheme and the service, that's not negating the fact that many of them are facing huge difficulties and challenges with obstructions from government agencies across department, and also added bureaucracy, which is increasing their costs. So I think, branding it that it's part of some service that means automatically that things flow smoothly is a falsehood.
So recording those concerns, so just to be clear, what the committee would be doing would be inviting Lord Murphy to come along and talk about his report, because my expectation is Windsor Framework Democratic Scrutiny Committee won't do that.
We're meeting tomorrow. There may well be an indication of that. We've met him before.
Yeah, a couple of times.
It probably would make sense that there will be a follow-up meeting with him on this, but again, we'll be in a better place tomorrow to see where that is.
Okay, so perhaps the action here would be that we could, I'll get into contact with the clerks and see what they're going to do. 'Cause
Yeah.
don't know if we need to do it twice.
But obviously, a lot of it is economy related, so it's
I'd be keen as an economy committee that we actually done this, and Democratic Windsor Framework Scrutiny Committee has its clear role that it has to do, but it doesn't cover the auspices of the economy in Northern Ireland. So I would be keen that we as a committee done it, but happy to take members'
Yeah.
views.
That's agreed, Pam. That's the next chairperson. Item 27, page 667. Okay, so members are asked to note a copy of correspondence from the House of Lords Northern Ireland Scrutiny Committee to the Department for Business and Trade, indicating that that committee is to produce a report on strengthening Northern Ireland's voice in the Windsor Framework process. So is the committee content to note just pending publication of that committee's report? Great. 28, page 668. Members are asked to note a copy of correspondence, again from the House of Lords NI Scrutiny Committee to DBT again, seeking clarity on implications for potential divergence for digital product specifications. Is the committee content to note? Then we have item 29, page 670. Members again asked to note a copy of correspondence from the House of Lords NI Scrutiny Committee, again to DBT, but this is indicating that the UK Government is to develop a new critical minerals strategy, which may apply to Northern Ireland, and if so, well, there may be some interaction with EU regulations. So is the committee content to note, just pending that?
Content?
Item 30, members are asked to note a copy of correspondence from the House of Lords NI Scrutiny Committee to DCIT in respect of EU regulations on the protection of geographical indications for craft and industrial products. Members content to note?
Right.
Okay, members, so at page 675 we have forwarded correspondence from KME Steelworks Limited in respect of an imbalance, they report, created by EU tariffs in Northern Ireland, particularly on aluminium sheet raw material, which favours GB suppliers. So is the committee content to write to the department seeking clarity on this?
Content?
On 32, page 679, members are asked to note forwarded correspondence from the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland indicating that a consultation has been launched, including extending EU rules on the classification, labelling and packaging, that's CLP, of substances and mixtures to the rest of the UK. So committee content to note?
Content?
So bringing us into line. 33 is members are asked to, at page 682, consider a request from the Road Haulage Association to brief the committee on behalf of hauliers, logistics companies and coach operators in Northern Ireland in respect of new Windsor Framework customs arrangements. Is the committee content to schedule this briefing?
Yeah, I'm content, and I would also probably conclude that they would also reflect upon whether the Murphy review satisfactorily deals with some of their issues.
That is agreed, Chairperson. Great. Fab. Okay then. Item
Are we in danger of duplicating? Do you know what I mean?
with Windsor Framework.
I
My
just best use of time. I don't know. I mean, I like a briefing from Lord Murphy, but I'm just wondering, is it best use of time, or maybe we should talk about that when we're talking about forward planning and closed session or something.
Through the chair, and I don't take your point. I said on both, so you know you're getting a double dose of it. But sometimes on the Windsor Framework Committee, there's an inability to have some of those presentations because of the processes in which they're there to scrutinise and whether active inquiries or not. Whereas what you'll find is that some of the issues that flow from it are specific to different committees. So if it's an economy-related query, they're pushed towards their relevant committees. Same happens in infrastructure, same happens in other places. So I see you're probably going to get more of this, but because the Framework Committee hasn't the bandwidth to deal with all queries that relate to
Just
different...
sympathy for those of us who sit on both Sinead's. That's what I would say.
So that's
I would kind of share Sinead's concerns around it, on that, you know, obviously while we want to make sure that we're hearing those issues, we don't want to duplicate, and I think obviously we have a very busy forward work programme in the next while as well, and I think that it's important that we prioritise the legislation, the other issues that we want to push, and obviously we'll come to a lot more of this when we're scheduling later on, but for me I would like to see a lot more of skills and training focus at the committee over the next while. I would like to see a lot more of the kind of core issues that we're focusing on. So totally appreciate that this is all relevant, but what I'm saying is I don't want it to detract from the already very packed work schedule that we have. So I think if there are opportunities to limit that duplication, then that would be preferable.
Okay. Are members content then that obviously further requests that we receive, you know, we can discuss those, but the Road Haulage Association play a pretty big part in the economy, and I think going back to them to say sorry we don't have time to see you would look quite bad, but I'm in the hands of members.
I'm happy to propose that we meet them.
I would second that, yeah, because I'm aware of the problems.
Okay.
Is that great? Yep. Thanks, members. Okay, item 34, page 683. Members are asked to consider forward copy of the Competition and Markets Authority annual report and accounts. These are laid in all of the legislatures in the UK, and there's very limited reference to Northern Ireland, but there is something in respect of the branding in the healthcare settings of baby formula and also mineral product supply chain. So the baby formula thing is apparently in healthcare settings they tend to brand or push forward particular milk formula, which is a bit more expensive. And what the CMA report found was the cheaper stuff is just as good. It's nutritionally just as good, but it's an awful lot cheaper. So perhaps the committee might be content to forward to the Committee for Health in respect of the response from DOH on the branding in healthcare settings.
Yeah.
That's a great sort of for them. Then we move on to other items, some around the creative industries. This is at page 851. Members are asked to consider response from the Department for Culture and Media and it must be Science in respect of the UKG's Creative Industries Task Force and the impact of AI. The Secretary of State for DCMS was to hold the Culture and Creative Industries Interministerial Group in mid-July, including executive ministers. So this is us. We're writing to Secretary of State Nandy after we went to the Deluxe Group. And so is the committee content to forward this to the Deluxe Group and maybe seek an update from our Minister about that Culture and Creative Industries Interministerial Group?
Content.
Then at page 855 we have the Northern Ireland Screen Annual Report and Accounts. Is the committee content to note?
Great.
Moving on, then at item 37, so this is some information about social enterprise and credit unions, etc. Page 945, members are asked to note a copy of correspondence from the Committee for Finance to the Minister in respect of the DFE consultation on credit unions and the anticipated legislation. Now, the Committee for Finance recent banking inquiry recommended support for credit unions to help them widen their functions and services and update their practices, including digitisation, and to modernise their governance models and improve their sustainability. Is the committee content just to note that pending the outcome of the credit union consultation, which the department is running?
Claire, an interest just as member.
Credit Union.
And Sinead
And Diane and myself.
okay, and Stephen McLaughlin. Project Target. Right, very good. Thanks, members. If you are then content to note, if that's all right, members. At page 1008, it's item 38. Members are asked to consider a written ministerial statement, including the Social Enterprise Research Report, based on around 130 survey replies, 10 in-depth case studies. Report recommended all sorts of things, a social enterprise growth programme, seed funding, leadership programmes, procurement guidance, collaboration with credit unions and shared services. So is the committee content to write to the department just seeking information on the next steps for the recommendations of that report which they commissioned? That's agreed. Thank you. So item 39, now on to the budget. This is at page 1070. Members are asked to note departmental correspondence providing an update on the final Presbyterian Mutual Society losses. The department recovered 162.9 million capital, 25.1 million interest on a loan of 175 million, thus allowing for the interest. The write-off was 12.1 million. There's also the original 50 million interest-free executive loan was not recovered, so thus the overall loss 62.1 million for the Presbyterian Mutual Society. So there will be a minute which will be laid at some point, but the committee had asked for this detail. Are we content to note into the minute?
Yep.
Item 40, page 1073, members are asked to note forwarded correspondence from the Northern Ireland Fiscal Council giving its assessment of the implications of the spending review for the executive. So members will be back on this,
Yep.
I hope, in early in October. So the committee content to note.
Great.
That's great, thanks members. Item 41, page 106, 1086. Members are asked to note correspondence from the Northern Ireland Fiscal Council providing a link to its data bank showing spending by the departments, all the departments actually the previous 4-year period. This is quite handy. It's quite useful stuff. They do produce good things, I think, the Fiscal Council. So this committee can content to note pending the DFE briefing on the outcome of the spending review. If that's agreed, members. Thank you. Item 42, 1087 are asked to note, members are asked to note a copy of Department of Finance guidance to departments on the budget for resource for 2026-27 to 2028-29 and capital until 29-30. The executive budget may be published in the autumn. Well, this is likely now going to be after the 26th of November, followed by a consultation. I don't think it will be 12 weeks. So it's just to give you a heads up, members, that because the budget event, whatever the Chancellor is calling it now, is now going to be 26th November, which is late. That's when, my understanding is that's when the executive gets its envelope. Here's how much money you've got. And then from that, the executive budget for the following years will appear. So the departments will need a wee bit of time to kick that around. So we will be up against it around about Christmas to look at the budget. So the committee content to note, pending that, look forward to that. Members are asked to note at page 1103, the ISNI capital investment activity reports for July and August. Are you content to note? Thank you. At page 1111, members are asked to consider correspondence from the department and the minister, in respect of the department providing a letter of comfort for tourism NI Nilgosh employee pensions. Okay, so this is in place in the event that tourism NI, in the unlikely scenario that it should cease to exist, very unlikely to happen, but what the idea was that the department provided a letter of comfort which would guarantee that pensions would be paid. By so doing, they would avoid an increase in tourism Northern Ireland pension costs. Okay, so I think we'd heard about this before. It usually appears in the department's annual report and accounts. What's a little strange is they laid it during summer recess, and the committee then had 14 days to raise an AQW or raise it in plenary. It's recess. There are no AQWs. There is no plenary. So I emailed it to you all during the summer. Went back to the department. I say, chaps, I think you might have made a mistake here. And the minister has then come back and said, oh no, this was laid in error and has been withdrawn and will be relayed. So that sounds. So what I'm suggesting is the committee just content to note that.
Yeah, members.
Yeah. I think it's hopefully they will revise the managing public money guidance to make it a bit clearer. Anyway, we are now at page 1115. This is item 45. Members are asked to consider a memo from the Committee for Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs in respect of the committee stage of the dilapidation bill. I've had a good look at that. I don't think it's within the committee's remit directly, so is the committee content just simply to note that and to make a nil response?
Yep.
Great.
Leave that to colleagues in the Agriculture Committee. Members are asked to consider a memo from the Assembly Executive Review Committee in respect of evidence gathering on scrutiny of cross-cutting matters by committee. So these were these joint concurrent meetings that we did. and they're asking us what our experience of those. Is committee content for me just to respond to them, indicating that they're okay, but that what they might think about doing is changing the quorum for joint concurrent evidence so that you'd still need the same number to make a decision, but that you could drop the number of members required for taking evidence, so that way you wouldn't have to have the full complement of 18 members sitting there throughout, and me begging members to stay because we're afraid of the joint concurrent meeting falling over. So if you're content, if you understood what I just said, if you're content for me to respond in those terms, just I think it would just be a handier sort of housekeeping thing, just to reduce the quorum for evidence taking, but not to change the quorum for decision making.
Yeah.
Content?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Item 47. Members are asked to consider. Are asked to consider an invitation to the chairperson to attend the upcoming Antrim and Newton Abbey Borough Council Investment Showcase event at the QE2 Centre in London on the Wednesday 19th. Is the committee content for the chairperson to attend, diary permitting? Okay, very good. Item 48 is at 1164, page 1164. This is a request from Caleb's Cause to brief the committee on the way forward for post-19 SEN. Now, members, as the ETI review of SEN provision is still underway, so there are various actions that the Minister laid out, and those are still happening. Is the committee content just to decline the briefing for now, but then to return to this when there's been some of those actions which are underway have reported?
Yeah, I think it'll be important that we get the outcomes of this. Alma and their team did a great work, but there's nothing at this stage that we can, take forward because the report hasn't landed yet. But
as long as that's made clear.
Clear, yeah.
Just Chair, rather than maybe the word decline being used, I think it's not a decline. We want to make sure that when they come here, that we've the information that they need, and we provide whatever support. So
no problem. Respond in those terms, and that's thank you, members. At page 1166, we then have a response from the Association of British Insurers in response to the Financial Conduct Authority's general insurance retail findings, reiterating its position in respect of car insurance cost pressures. Is the committee content to note? Also at at item 50, which is at page 1168, we're nearly there. Members are asked to note a copy of an article in the Insurance Times referring to referral fees charged by claim management companies and their impact on car insurance costs. So these, my understanding is, are unregulated in Northern Ireland, but are regulated in the rest of the UK. So content to note?
Yep.
Very good. Then we have, item 51, page 11673, members are asked to consider correspondence with the Financial Conduct Authority, noting a statement on workplace saving schemes. So these are schemes. So I used to be the social development clerk, and I was there whenever they introduced workplace pensions. This is a whole new thing that I'd never heard of, that you can actually, employers can make arrangements for their employees to save money. Never heard of it. So is committee content to write to the department to ask how it is to promote the use of workplace saving schemes? So the idea is that people have money for their retirement, etc. Tend to do that, members?
Yep.
Okay. Item 52. Okay, this is the Ofcom annual report. Are members content to note?
Yes, Chair.
Item 53. Members are asked to note a save the date from the Northern Ireland Chamber of Commerce for the Future Workforce Summit Conference at the Galgorm on Thursday, 16th of October. Members just content to note that one. Fab. Then we have at 1412. This is from Bryson Recycling. They were initially writing to the committee offering to brief, but I think they're going to talk to members individually, so you content to note.
Great.
Page 1415. Members are asked to note correspondence from the Department of Health advising that Shankill Women's Association has a meeting space which could be used for community meetings, so that might be something we can make use of in the future. Thanks, members. Then we have item 56, copy of correspondence. It's an environmental information regulations request. It's not for us, it's for the department, and it's about mineral prospecting licenses. Our committee content to note?
Content.
Okay, then we have 57, which is from a concerned individual, page 1446. This is about, it's a restricted correspondence from a concerned individual in respect of issues relating to NAE Network's current way leave practices and payments. As the correspondence already written to the utility regulator, is the committee content to note?
Content.
Very good. Item 58 at page 1467, members are asked to note restricted correspondence from a concerned individual, including an FOI request in respect of the committee's actions following briefings on employment tribunal issues. I've responded to this in line with the FOI timeline. So is the committee therefore content to note?
Content.
That being the case, members, yes. Item 58 is at page 1468. Members are asked to note a copy of restricted correspondence from a concerned individual to the Minister in respect of complaints mechanisms against the Employment Tribunal President. Again, is the committee content to note? And that, members, is that. Could I ask if members have any questions about any of those items of correspondence? All 59. Well done. All done.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll then move to item 9, which is the forward work plan, and refer members to page 1471 and then tabled items as well. So, Peter.
Sorry, members, I'm having a wee technical difficulty here. Sorry, I'm nearly there. There we go. What's coming up then? So next week we should have the Chief Scientific and Technology Advisor telling us about AI in the economy. We haven't got a response yet from QUB unions who were expecting them to come. They haven't answered, so that might not happen. But then we have an informal lunch with the House of Lords International Agreements Committee. So that's immediately after the meeting at 12:30. We'll just nip up the stairs to the private dining room and have a chat with them. So other things coming up. Department will brief on the Administration and Financial Provisions Bill on the 24th September.
Yep.
So this is really a finance bill, but there's a bit in it for our department. And there's an LCM on the Westminster Sustainable Aviation Fuel Bill, 24th September as well. Assembly Research will brief us on renewable energy on the 1st of October, which is the same day as our visit to the utility regulator. So just to point out some visits that are coming up. We're not going to do Sony today, but 24th September, I hope members were still on for Belfast Stories. So this is a part of the City and Growth deal. It's down on Royal Avenue, and Belfast City Council are going to show us around that. So if we're not able to attend, please do tell me in good time. And then on the 1st of October, after our meeting, we'll nip down the road again into the middle of Belfast to talk to the utility regulator, who want to give us a tour and talk to us about renewable energy and all that good stuff. And then on the 8th of October, we're in Kilkeel to talk to Collins Aerospace. If you look on the 1st of October, I just had a wee chat with the department about this. October monitoring, we were going to look at that. That has apparently not been commissioned yet by the Department of Finance, so that's going to be later than that. So it'll be November monitoring, but it's that probably won't happen then. Department also told me that the 5-year business plans, they won't be able to talk to us about that yet because they're still dealing with the spending review, but they have undertaken to talk to us about the spending review on the 1st of October, and hopefully we'll also be able to talk about the higher education spending needs analysis, which had been commissioned by the department at that time. So in terms of the business plan, they've also asked if they can delay that a bit. So what I'm kind of hoping is that I'm sort of thinking that just before Christmas, maybe we'd invite the minister to come. Maybe she'd be able to tell us about the budget. So that might be what we do on the 10th of December. And maybe they could tell us, they could update us on the business plan, all that good stuff then. So, and that could also be the opportunity for the minister to tell us about how she wants to conclude the mandate and what her objectives are. And so 3rd of December, we would get an update there from InvestNI on the review of InvestNI and all the stuff that they've been up to. So members, are there anything you'd want me to add or remove from said forward work programme? Okay then, members, I've also included at page 1475, RHI. This is a list of potential representative bodies and organisations that in the event of a committee stage, that's who I'd probably write to. If that bill got through the executive very quickly, I would then want to write to them and say, hey, here this bill's coming, come and tell us what you think about it. And I want to give them as much time as possible. So that's why I commissioned Reyes to put together that list. So members, have a look at that. If there's anybody missing, do tell, and if the committee's in agreement, then that's who we would write to in the event of that committee stage happening. And that's all I have, Chairperson, on the forward work programme.
Okay, members, any questions or issues on that? No? Okay, we'll then move to the other business, members.
Just a small one. Members will remember whenever we visited Queen's for a committee, we had a briefing from InvestNI officials about the energy efficiency capital grant that they were administrating on behalf of the department. So we were all, suppose, shocked that such a fresh scheme was oversubscribed and then had to be paused. But there has been a lot of ripple effect because of that pause, in the fact now that we don't know whether it's paused or whether it's finished completely, means that a lot in the market in terms of businesses are actually saying to those that are involved in the installation, do you know what, we'll just hold off till we see what happens. So we sort of need to have a bit more direction as to, is there going to be a budget line for this particular scheme which will give businesses the confidence to start to get in process, or if there's not, we need to let these people know so that they can get on with regulating their own industry.
Just write to the department to ask for an update on the plans for the scheme.
That's agreed, Chairperson.
Great. Anything else?
Just, I suppose it's to go back just in terms of the list of consultees, RHA, NIAPA, I didn't see them on the list. They're based in Mid-Ulster, so.
Okay, no problem. There's absolutely no problem. As long as members are content, we will add that to the list.
Great. If there are any others that members discover, just
No problem.
get them sent through. The more the better.
Yes.
Okay, if there's no other business, members, we will meet again in public session on the 17th of September at 10 a.m. and room 30. And then the committee will now seek committee's agreement to move into closed session. Are we content?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, members.